Good morning, everybody. Today is July the 10th. It's Thursday. This will be the last check-in for the week. I wanted to talk to you about something that used to be the bane of my existence. Uh, Usually about once every couple of weeks when I was with the Small Business Development Center, I'd get somebody that would come in and they'd have a copy of this book entitled Free Money to Change Your Life. Or I'd get somebody who'd come in and they'd ask me about this book and they'd tell me, wow, there's 15,000 government programs out there that are willing to give me money to start my business. And I'd say, okay, where did you see that? And they'd tell me about this. And so what I've done is, hopefully you've already watched it, right? I put it on our video list for today as July 10th check-in. Watch first. I'm recording this after, and hopefully you're watching this after you've watched that video. It's only 30 seconds, but you know, I'd ask people, okay, I'd say, what do you think that Matthew Lesko, this crazy guy with the question marks on his shirt or on his sports coat, what do you think he's trying to do? And they'd say, well, he's telling me about money to start a business or to do this or to do that or the other. And I said, now, what do you think he's really about? And I'd have to kind of dig and dig and dig and dig to get to the bottom of what he's really about and what he was really about at the time. And apparently he's still alive. I haven't really dug in depth that much. Is he's in the business of selling books. So this commercial goes back to about 1998, 99, maybe the year 2000. And I would convince people or finally communicate with people that this book is $37.95, and all he's doing is he's telling you about grant programs that are specific for individual needs from federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies. Actually, one of the grant programs that he had in there was the Small Business Development Center program, and people would see that and they'd think, okay, well, we've got a Small Business Development Center here. That must mean that I can go to them and get a grant. Well, no, that's not what it meant at all. It meant that that's a funding opportunity that was available in the state of Georgia. It was a contract that had been held since 1976, 77, that Georgia had operated the Small Business Development Center. Actually, they were the first in the nation to operate an SBDC. And that comes in part through a grant from the United States Small Business Administration. And the Small Business Development Center's purpose is to help entrepreneurs, right? They do that through consulting, training, right? Working one-on-one with small businesses, helping them with their business plan, providing workshops. I used to specialize in a couple of things. I really worked a lot with QuickBooks, helping people get their financial statements in order so that they can understand their business better. I also worked a lot with marketing, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. So people would come to me and they'd say, okay, well, there's 15,000 grant opportunities. And here's what I would say about that. There are tons and tons of grant opportunities. There are literally tens of thousands of organizations out there in the United States and around the world that provide grant funding for small businesses. However, there's a catch. Those grants are rarely going to be for what you want to do in your business, right? They come with a motto, many strings attached. If I'm going to give you money from my organization, I'm not going to give you money to go out and do whatever you want to do with it. I'm going to give you money to go out and help me meet whatever I want you to do with it. It's about what I want to do, not about what you want to do with that money. So the key to getting a grant and successfully funding your business through a grant is that you got to find a grant that pays you to do what you want to do rather than pays you to do what the funding agency wants you to do, right? Understand that that grant's going to be time sensitive. It's going to be limited in its scope. It's going to give you money to do exactly what it wants you to do, not what they want you to do. And I'd also ask people to understand this, and I'm guessing probably in the 16 or so students that we have in the class. Maybe some of you might be non-traditional, or maybe you have kids, or you've got nieces or nephews, you know somebody who has kids, maybe a close friend. And here's what I would say. A business is just like a baby. When a business is born, it's got to be nourished, it's got to have support, it's got to have care. And that care really is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Um, there's going to be crappy things that you don't want to do. Think of those as changing the diaper on your business. There's going to be things that you enjoy doing. That'd be playing with the baby. There's going to be things that are just okay. There's going to be things that take you away from what you want to do, right? And you've got to provide the attention necessary to make that business work. So I don't know if you've ever known anybody who had a premature child, but if somebody has a premature child, a good friend of mine, they had a baby at 28 weeks. And, she's grown now, but she spent about 3 months in neonatal intensive care, or NICU. And she was literally on life support, right? And when a baby is born on life support, goes on life support, the primary goal of the caregivers is to get that baby off of life support, right? And the first time that you see a baby on life support, it's really, really shocking because there's tubes going in everywhere, maybe some baby might even be on a ventilator or supplemental oxygen or whatever. And they're tiny little things. And, it's just kind of heartbreaking to watch that. But that baby is on life support. And if that life support is taken away, then unfortunately, the babies may not make it. Think of a funding opportunity for your business as the life support, right? Um, Here's the problem. If you get a grant to start your business, you're starting your business on life support. And that life support may or may not provide the nourishment that your business needs long term. And there's something else. You're needing a subsidy to start your business, right? If somebody's giving you money to do something, that means you're subsidized. Your education is subsidized. The state pays 25 or 30% of the cost of your education. You pay the most of it, but the state pays a lot of it. But it's subsidized. It makes it cheaper for you to go to college. A subsidy is life support. And if that subsidy is taken away from that baby business, then the baby business may or may not survive. A much better thing for you to do is to build a business that's sustainable, build a business that doesn't need life support, build a business that's dependent on two things. It's dependent on your customers, and it's dependent on you as the entrepreneur. It's your job to get out there and sell it, but you don't have to have anybody give you money to make that business survive, because I've seen hundreds of businesses fail. I've seen hundreds of businesses succeed. I've worked with hundreds that have succeeded. I've worked with hundreds that have failed. It's going to take everything that you've got. But the last thing that you want to do is to put an undue burden on your business as you get started. And that undue burden is chasing the grant. I can talk more about that. And if you would like to come by and see me sometime in the fall and say, hey, you told me you were going to talk more about grants, or could talk more about grants, I'm happy to sit down and talk with you one-on-one. In the short term, I'm not going to bore you with that on a video that I expect you to watch. So I just wanted to talk about that today because the Chapter 10 topic is securing financing for your business. And grants can be a viable source of financing for a small business, but just understand they're very specific and very limited in scope. And they come with the motto, many strings attached. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I won't talk to you again until next week. It'll be July the 14th when I talk. It'll be Monday. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Get after those videos. I'm still real disappointed. At this point, half the class has not even watched the first Chapter 9 video. And that's just, guys, that's just weak. right? You're better than that. Get after it, okay? Y'all have a blessed day.